Welcome to this explainer. Today, we are diving deep into a holistic, three-layered approach to surviving an urban crisis. We're going to break this down from the inside out, starting with your mind, moving to your behavior, and then finally locking down your gear. We'll be pulling from some incredibly solid source material today, everything from the CDC's psychological studies to expert urban preparedness guides from the UK Survival Network, plus some really modernized everyday carry strategies. It is a packed one, so let's get right into it.
Picture this, an unexpected urban blackout hits, like right now. The grid goes down, the streets instantly get chaotic, and all your normal daily routines just completely evaporate. I want you to honestly look at your current level of preparation. Look at the clothes on your back and the mindset you're in today. Does your current setup make you a survivor who can navigate the chaos safely, or does it kind of make you a walk-in target? I know, it's a heavy question, but stick with me because by the end of this explainer, you're going to know exactly how to make sure you are absolutely the former.
So, believe it or not, every physical crisis actually begins right up in the human brain. According to the CDC's Crisis Communication Manual, when a disaster strikes, our brains often just misfire. We get plunged into this intense state of psychological confusion and uncertainty. You see, we don't process information during a crisis the way we do on a normal, boring Tuesday. We are flooded with adrenaline, and our standard logical frameworks literally just start to break down. So, to survive physically, we've got to figure out how to survive mentally first.
All right, let's get into layer one, the psychology of disaster. When we're overwhelmed by a crisis, the CDC points out that our brains take four very specific cognitive shortcuts. First up, we simplify messages. Under intense stress, we completely miss nuances and we really struggle to juggle multiple facts at once. Second, we hold on to our current beliefs. If you've always felt perfectly safe in your apartment, you're going to stubbornly cling to that feeling even if authorities are literally on a megaphone telling you to evacuate. Third, we look for additional information to confirm what we're hearing. Like checking to see if the neighbors are actually packing their cars before we decide to pack ours. And fourth, we tend to believe the very first message we hear, often filling in the blanks with wild speculation if the official info isn't coming fast enough. Recognizing these little shortcuts in yourself is absolutely crucial because it stops you from making irrational, habit-based decisions when things go south.
Now, during a disaster, there are two incredibly debilitating mental states that can creep up on you: hopelessness and helplessness. Hopelessness is that heavy feeling that the threat is just so massive, nothing can be done by anyone to fix it. Helplessness, though, that's a deeply personal feeling. It's the belief that you specifically have no power to improve your own situation. And if you leave these unchecked, they will cause people to literally withdraw, both mentally and physically. So what's the antidote here? Well, the CDC says it's taking direct, constructive action. Literally just doing something, even if it's as simple as organizing your supplies or filling up your bathtub with water, actually restores your sense of control and physically breaks you out of that paralysis.
Moving right along to Section 2, Myth-Busting, Panic, and Denial.
The media and Hollywood movies constantly mischaracterize our completely natural fight-or-flight responses as this chaotic, screaming panic. But get this. As the CDC explicitly points out, people seldom act completely irrationally during a crisis. If you see someone running, it's usually a calculated, adrenaline-fueled survival response, not mindless panic. Understanding this keeps you grounded. If you realize the crowd isn't actually panicking, but they're just trying to solve a really urgent problem with limited information, you can navigate through them so much more safely and calmly.
But here's the kicker. While Hollywood totally overplays panic, it severely underplays denial. Denial kicks in when people just straight up refuse to acknowledge imminent harm. And why does this happen? Well, the CDC notes it's often because people just get burned out on false alarms, or they're getting mixed messages without any clear action steps. If a warning is just way too far outside our normal daily experience, our brain just basically chooses to hit the mute button. So, acknowledging that your brain desperately wants to be in denial is actually your first step to overriding it and taking proactive action.
All right, let's shift gears to Section 3, the gray man theory.
I want you to picture your typical tactical prepper. You know the type. They're wearing all black, carrying a massive backpack covered in military molly-webbing, and they're moving at this rapid, hyper-vigilant pace. Look, in an urban crisis, that person is literally the biggest target in the room. They don't look prepared, they look like a walking supply cache for someone else to steal. In stark contrast, we have the gray man. The gray man wears super neutral colors, like navy or gray. They carry a totally boring civilian backpack, and they move at the exact same pace as the crowd. The gray man strategy completely exploits how human attention works. We really only notice what is different, right? So by eliminating those differences, the gray man essentially just disappears in plain sight. Remember, visibility equals vulnerability.
And to maintain that invisibility long term, you've got to rely on something called routine randomness. Patterns make you predictable, and predictability makes you incredibly vulnerable to anyone who might be observing you. So here is how you fix that. Step 1. Vary your routes. Don't always take the exact same street to the grocery store or to work. Step 2. Change your timing. Try not to leave your apartment at exactly 7 a.m. every single day like clockwork. And Step 3. Rotate your appearance. Switch it up between a backpack and a messenger bag. These sound like tiny changes, but they completely prevent anyone, even your nosy neighbors, from building a recognizable profile of your movements and your supplies.
Which brings us to Section 4, Essential Urban Survival Skills. Now, to physically navigate a compromised city, you need some serious resourcefulness, like these brilliant practical hacks from the UK Survival Network. If the grid goes down, you have to know how to MacGyver everyday items. Need clean water? You can make a DIY water filter using just a plastic bottle layered with sand, charcoal, and cloth. What if the gas is shut off? You can actually boil water using a makeshift stove built from nothing but everyday candles and a simple metal grate. Facing a brutal summer blackout? A DIY air conditioner requires only a shallow pan of ice placed right in front of a battery-powered fan. Simple, but it works. And for personal safety, carrying a basic keychain alarm can instantly deter a threat by drawing massive attention. You see, it isn't about having a bunch of expensive gear. It's entirely about knowing how to manipulate your urban environment to your advantage.
And finally, Section 5, Building Your Urban EDC.
A modernized 2026 everyday carry, or EDC, is absolutely not about hauling around a massive wilderness survival kit on the subway. It needs to be sleek, and it needs to be targeted. First, standardize your tech. Using a single USB-C GAN charger and a magnetic power bank significantly simplifies your loadout and eliminates all that awful cable clutter. For your wallet, an RFID blocking, slim design is absolutely essential now to protect your contactless cards. Under safety, skip the massive spotlight. A compact USB-C rechargeable flashlight and a simple emergency whistle are featherweight but incredibly effective. And listen, in a dense city, hygiene is literally survival. Never ever underestimate the power of pocket hand sanitizer and wet wipes, especially after you've had to navigate public transit during a crisis. But wait, how on earth do you carry all of this stuff without breaking your gray man camouflage and looking like that tactical guy we talked about earlier? The secret is modularity and concealment. Do not go out and buy a tactical bag with a dozen external pockets. Instead, you're going to put all this incredible gear into color-coded internal pouches. So it may be blue for tech, red for first aid. Then you place those pouches inside a completely normal, boring-looking commuter bag. This modularity means you can instantly transfer your entire survival loadout from your work backpack straight into your gym duffel in seconds, all while maintaining absolute invisibility.
So I want to leave you with this final thought. We've just armed you with the psychology of a crisis, the behavioral camouflage of the gray man, some really clever urban hacks, and a totally modernized 2026 everyday carry loadout. So when the next crisis hits, will you walk right through it unnoticed? By applying this mind, behavior, and gear framework to your own everyday city life, you can absolutely become the person who calmly and capably walks right through the danger completely off the radar. Start applying these principles today and stay safe out there.